Every year, hundreds of unidentified flying objects, UFOs, are reported over the British Isles. Most of them can be explained, but about 1 in 10 defy the investigators. Witnesses make astonishing claims of their close encounters, of bizarre lights darting around the sky, communication with other forms of intelligence, even of being abducted by aliens. But none is more remarkable than the story we're going to tell tonight. It resulted in inquiries on both sides of the Atlantic and questions in Parliament. It involved senior American Air Force personnel and a former chief of staff at the Ministry of Defense. The witnesses and the evidence they gathered are impossible to ignore. This is the first time all those directly involved have told their story, and we've reconstructed what they described. American airmen stationed in Britain tell of events that would change their lives.
I came to Britain from a tour in the Pentagon, having previously served in the Far East and, of course, in Vietnam like many other people. And I kind of expected it to be somewhat of a quiet tour.
I was at the height of the Cold War, but we weren't directly involved like the bases in Europe.
It was very laid back, not much happened, and you never expected much to happen, especially at Christmas time.
Bentwaters and Woodbridge, twin military air bases in East Anglia. The 3 miles that divide them are filled by Rendlesham Forest. Until last year, the bases were occupied by the 81st Tactical Fighter Wing of the United States Air Force. Although a normally uneventful assignment, they formed a strategic part of Western Europe's defenses. As such, they had top security status. Nothing could get in or out without being detected. An RAF radar station nearby. During the monitoring of a night flying exercise, a strange object was picked up.
We didn't have the faintest idea what it was. We checked through the air traffic agencies. There should have been nothing in that area at the time.
Yeah, Colin, have a look at this. It's just completely static. It's just hovering there.
The only thing we could do was send a jet aircraft in to find out what it was.
Bravo 60, Bravo 60, we have unidentified traffic in your area. Your new target is 270 degrees, range 10 miles, indicating 5,000 feet, over.
They got to within about a quarter of a mile, and the pilots suddenly started reporting that they could see a very bright light in the sky in front of them.
I can see extremely bright lights. It's moving away, target accelerating away.
Look at that thing go. Bravo 60, target is still in front of you. It's going straight up. Target going straight up, over.
It was stationary on the screen, and then, in seconds, it moved off at a fantastic rate of speed. Within a space of 5 minutes, it was reaching 90,000 feet and higher, and we lost it off the top end of the radar scope.
Target's accelerating too fast. We can't keep up with it. We're disengaging.
The radar operators were mystified.
There's nothing we have in this day that can perform those kind of manoeuvres. The pilots wouldn't be able to take it. You tell me what it was.
Back on Woodbridge Base, near the East Gate, Airman John Burrows was on security patrol with a colleague.
Stop the car. Look at that. Do you see that in the woods?
There were strange lights out in the forest. To me, it almost looked like Christmas lights at first, a Christmas display.
I'll open the gate.
At that point, we looked at each other and we decided that we better go out and take a closer look because we weren't sure what we were dealing with. What we were looking at wasn't real.
Those are no Christmas lights. Come on, let's get out of here.
Airman Burrows and his colleague raced back to the gatehouse, where he contacted the security controller.
Hi, this is Burrows here. I'm out at the East Gate. We've got a problem here.
He had a lot of trouble believing what I was telling him because it was Christmas and I had played a lot of jokes on him before.
I'm serious. This is not a joke. There's something out there.
Eventually persuaded by the airman's tone, the controller contacted Sergeant Jim Peniston.
Roger, Control. We're on our way over.
I received a call from the control center to go on down to the East Gate and contact John Burroughs. And I asked him what was the nature of the problem down there. And they said that they'd rather not tell me. They'd rather have me go down there and talk to the patrolman on scene.
What is that?
I don't know, and I don't want to know.
Did you hear an explosion, John?
It didn't crash, it landed.
The first thing that came to mind is an aircraft crash. I've had at least 30 or 40 crashes that I have been to at that point in time, and that's definitely what I thought it was.
I'm gonna contact Control. Sergeant Peniston at the East Gate. I've got a possible aircraft down just beyond the perimeter.
They notified me that they were tracking an unidentified bogey about 15 minutes ago, and they confirmed it with contact with Eastern Radar and Heathrow in London. And at the approximate location, about 5 miles off base, when they lost contact with it.
Well, they registered it. They don't know what it is either.
So a plane or what?
It was Christmas time, and there was no scheduled flying for that night.
I'd heard rumors that it possibly could have been a British exercise with ships and planes out at sea.
Whatever it was, Sergeant Peniston knew they had to go and find out.
I got permission to proceed off base to investigate.
Following military rules, the Americans had to leave their weapons behind.
One part of me wanted to go ahead and go out there and figure out what we were dealing with, and the other part of me was saying, no, you don't need to go out there, just go ahead, stay back at the gate where it's safe and you don't have to worry about what's going on.
The men went through the forest towards the lights.
This is as far as we go. It's out on foot now.
I started to see a defined shape, and at that point is when I realized it wasn't an aircraft crash, a fire, or anything of that sort. The air was filled with electricity that you could feel it on your skin as we approached the object.
You felt like you were moving in slow motion. Your hair on the back of your head was standing up. You felt like you had very little control over your body.
Then they saw it.
I wish I had my weapon because I felt totally defenseless.
It was about the size of a tank. It was triangular in shape. Underneath the craft was a high-intensity white light emanating out of it, and it was bordered by red and blue lighting, alternating.
When nothing happened, the men, deciding the object wasn't hostile, got up to take a closer look.
On the upper left side of the craft was an inscription that measured 6 inches high of symbols. They looked familiar, but I couldn't ascertain why.
The Americans watched for about 20 minutes.
And slowly started moving back, weaving in and around the trees. Got about 40 feet away, then it raised up into the air, and it shot off as fast as you can blink.
Enter. Come on in.
On their return to the airbase, the men were called in by the officer in charge.
Well, what happened out there last night? We know radar saw something. Now I want you to tell me in your words exactly what you saw.
Well, sir, Burroughs was the first to see.
As we were standing there reporting in, then it hit me, and I realized, what in the world am I doing here, standing in front of my lieutenant, getting ready to explain this situation that I just observed. I thought, there goes the career, Jim.
Had markings on it.
Okay, this is what I want you to do.
Gentlemen, he says, I need you to go over to the woods, he says, and take a look at the area in daylight to see if you can find any more physical evidence.
Anything. Dismissed.
We found branches on the ground. We found indentations in the ground.
The local Suffolk police went out too. An officer found the indentations but reported they'd been caused by animals burrowing.
I asked him why, and he says because he's not going to put anything other than that in his report. We found that just totally absurd. The ground was frozen, and it was just impossible for that to happen.
Then the airmen remembered that the object they'd seen was triangular. They measured the distance between the indentations and discovered that they formed a perfect triangle. The activities soon came to the attention of the Deputy Base Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt.
Well, it's the aliens I feel sorry for. I wouldn't want a close encounter of any kind with Burroughs.
Who's been having close encounters?
Sir. Well, I guess you could say we were having a few Christmas festivities.
Oh, yeah?
Well, Burroughs and Peniston said they were out chasing a UFO in the forest.
Are you serious?
Well, that's what they said.
Has anybody confirmed it wasn't an aircraft?
Not that I know of.
Whatever they saw, I want it in the log.
Okay.
I personally knew the individuals that had reported it, and I knew they were very credible people. I was sure something had happened. It was obviously something. I certainly wasn't convinced it was a UFO, but I didn't know what it was.
There was only one way to find out. Huge portable floodlights, known as light-alls, were rigged in the forest, ready for anything which might appear the next night. But as darkness fell, the light-alls began to malfunction. Lieutenant Colonel Holt was interrupted at a Christmas dinner.
The duty flight lieutenant came in, and he was quite shaken and insisted upon speaking myself and the base commander about a matter of utmost urgency. He said, "It's back." And I said, "What's back?" And he said, "The UFO is back." I assembled a small team of experts, and we set off in the forest really to debunk it.
About 30 men followed the lights into the forest, armed with special equipment, including a night vision scope, Geiger counter, and a tape recorder.
Right, this way.
I'm certainly glad we made the tape, because if we hadn't made the tape, even I would have trouble believing what happened that night.
But would anyone else believe them? After the break, the actual tape of what the American airmen claim they met in Rendlesham Forest.
It appears to be maybe moving a little bit this way. It's brighter than it has been. It's coming this way.
Strange,
It's definitely coming this way.
true.